Good morning and happy Wellness Wednesday, everyone. My name is Brian the Botanist, and today my special guest is Mike DeCourcey. And Mike is an avid journaler, wellness advocate, life explorer, Live Ultimate ambassador, lives in Colorado. He's going to be my special guest today. So we're waiting on Mike DVS. 15 is his Instagram. I'm going to type it in here. I see him just popping in. Mike, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wellness Wednesday. Hope you've got your shroom lattes and your other elixirs and hot water. You're hydrating, that you're staying healthy, that you're building up your immune system, that you're studying, researching. Always. Good morning, everyone. Mike, good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Happy Wellness Wednesday.
Yeah, same to you.
Thank you for joining us. You're in Colorado, right?
Yeah, Boulder.
Boulder. Okay, awesome. I love Boulder. As a runner, I've heard so much about it, but never been there. I'm in Miami Beach, and it's a pleasure to have you on again. I know we spoke a couple of weeks ago on an Instagram Live, I think on my personal account, about mushrooms.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was really fun. So today we're going to get to know you, and we want to hear about your health story, about your passions. I know journaling is a big passion of yours. Travel, wellness advocate, Live Ultimate ambassador. We want to learn about your health story today. So first of all, how are things going out in Colorado? How are you feeling today?
Yeah, today's good. We just got hit with like a streak of sun. So it was like in the 60s. Now we just got a little snow. So today's a little white and cold.
Okay.
So
Well, we're sending some sunshine from South Florida your way.
uh thank you.
And I like the plants in your background.
Yeah, shout out to my roommate. She's the plant connoisseur.
Cool. So it's 2 hours behind Miami time there, right?
Yeah, we're at like 9 o'clock now.
Okay. And it's 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. I know this is a special time we did for you. So I want to jump right in it. What got you started on your health journey? Because I know you're a health advocate and avid journaler, life explorer. We've talked about some of your adventures to Asia. And I want to, first of all, I want to just learn about what got you started as a health warrior in your life. And was it something in your childhood or, what got you started overall, Mike?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was always like an athlete, always into sports. It was just like I was always highly passionate and active, and um, yeah, so I guess it probably started around um, right after high school, around that time, all my friends had gone away to college, and then I was at home going to community college, and I kind of had like this extreme FOMO and kind of like fell into a depression of sorts of just like, oh man, they're all partying and hanging out with girls, drinking, doing all this stuff, and then I kind of fell into like a deep depression of just kind of like, what am I doing with my life? And I came across, I don't know if you're familiar with Stumble Upon. It used to be like this little website that you would just click a button and then it would just generate these websites and flash one onto your screen.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so with that, I found personal development. Like I didn't really know that it was a thing to like be able to work on yourself and just like to upgrade and like to shift programs and to like optimize life. And I think that was the beginning of it was
So when you were like 19 or 18, you were saying?
yeah, right around then. And
Or yeah, transformative time as a teenager, and you found self-development work.
yeah,
Yeah.
so basically it was just the mindset of being able to shift programs in the mind and just being like just curious with like all these things, like having the shift of being okay, there's like these things I can do and add to my life, and like it just took me down this huge rabbit hole. And then I found this website called High Existence, and it was just basically explaining just different things. Like I know you like Alan Watts, and it was just very like mind expansive and just bringing like different things into my life that I hadn't really known about. So yeah,
High
and
existence, HIGH, like a higher self.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So fast forward now, it's really weird. My roommate Mike is now the CEO of that company.
No
So
way. Oh
yeah,
my
it's
God.
really wild. And
Wow.
yeah, High Existence. Check it out if anyone's listening. It's just jam packed with like wisdom and mind expansion and just different stuff. But yeah, man, just depression. It kind of took me into a rabbit hole of personal growth and like self-development and like learning that there were ways to maximize the body. And then there was also this gentleman I found by online. His name is Phil Drolet. And then he was just basically putting things in like layman's terms of like meditation. And he was kind of like a bro-y type guy. So it kind of broke the barrier of like, oh, meditation isn't just like what I'm thinking it is. Like it can be something else. And he presented it to me in a way that just seemed doable. And yeah, so with his website, it's called the Feel Good Lifestyle. I would just like go on there. He would talk about superfoods. That's where I got like introduced to like goji berries and like coconut oil and cacao. So yeah, just following him, and just that took me down the rabbit hole. So basically just being curious and exploring the World Wide Web, you know, and just dipping my toes. And I call myself like an experimenter. I don't just take things for like word value. I'll like go out and experiment and take note, and it's like, okay, this works, I can incorporate it, and if it doesn't, I can put it over here. So
Cool.
yeah, just experimenting and curiosity, I would say.
So you've been healthy, you know, as far as eating healthy, aware of nutrition and what you're putting in and on your body for the last, you know, since you've been a teen, late teen. You've
Yeah, I
been
would say so.
focusing on
Yeah,
your health.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And have you always lived in Colorado?
no, so I moved out here in December of 2018. Yeah,
Where did you
so
move from?
New Jersey. So I was
Okay.
right outside of Atlantic City.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
big change to the mountains.
Yeah, so my mindset of wanting to move out here was it's just like I can only do so much on my own. And then it's like in the mindset of having an environment and having an environment like shape you, I saw it as if I surround myself with more like-minded people, I can almost expedite my growth in terms of that.
I like that. Yep. Putting
Yeah.
yourself in the environment that you're going to be feel conducive to your growth. So I know you traveled a lot too. You mentioned, you know, on our last podcast that you, what happened in your 20s? Were you traveling a lot? What were you
Yeah,
spending your
so
time doing to grow?
yeah, so the first time I left the country was in 2014. I went down to Peru. So it was just a dream of mine to always want to go to Machu Picchu and
I
to,
went as well.
yeah,
I
it's
think
been one of,
2004 about I went there to
okay.
Peru and Machu Picchu.
And it's yeah, it's just like even the trek to get there, right? It's
The
just
Inca Trail was closed the month I was there in March because of that's the 1 month of the year they do repair to it, and they close it for 1 month. So I took a train from Cusco
to
through
Aguas Calientes.
Aguas Caliente,
Yeah.
and then we took a bus from Aguas Caliente into Machu Picchu. But I did get there in the morning before. I think I was like the first or second person to enter the park
Oh, cool.
before, you know, like before the mist lifted off of it at
Yeah,
7 in the morning. And then at about 2 p.m. or noon or 10 a.m., there's literally buses and buses and buses of, you know, people from all over the world. Um, a lot of people from far away come to Machu Picchu, and they come on buses. So it's good if you could take the trail. I'm sure it's a totally different experience. I still had a great experience, you
yeah,
know, but I think your experience must have been more connecting to the land and the culture, and just experiencing it like you would have pre-settlement, you know, or
yeah,
you know, what's the word? The yeah, before it got all
totally.
conquered down, yeah, torn
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I like hearing your experience of it because it's taken me back to mine where I remember I showed up and it was very cloudy, and then I was like, oh shit, man, I wish like I got a sunny day, and then all the like the mist.
Yeah, it usually starts really cloudy, and then like
Yeah,
by 8 o'clock, the mist is burning off. So like between like 7 and 8, you can get some amazing photographs of the hidden city. And it really was a hidden city until it was discovered, right? Was it 1930 or something, or
yeah,
1950?
yeah. It was
And it was like completely covered up in overgrowth, but they uncovered it, and it was like on the equivalent of the pyramids on how they built this. I mean, it's an incredible wonder that I think everyone should see at some point. There's also Huayna Picchu, the old mountain. There's
yeah,
Machu Picchu and then Huayna Picchu, which
yeah.
is
I
like a
plan.
black mountain that you can climb. It's like it's all black, right? It's like a
Yeah,
dark.
I got to do that. I
Is that one means old? Is Wanu mean old something? And then Machu, I
I
think the other one is called like the Old Mountain, and it's got a temple up on it, but it's a small temple that overlooks Machu Picchu. Now, Machu Picchu is so big, it is
yeah,
still so big that it's like almost a small city. I mean, it probably takes up over 100 acres, something maybe 1,000 acres on a mountain, and they built it out of these giant stones that are brought in from hundreds of miles away, like literally, like
it's
it was
crazy. It's
unreal stuff. They How they got these stones up into the mountains. I mean, in the Andes
and
is.
yeah, and the way that it was built, you could see the little nooks of crannies and just
Mhm.
like the way water would drip down like a certain little
Yeah,
thing.
perfectly formed blocks that are like huge, on the scale of the pyramid that are like just everything's like sewn onto each other. Like it's like a perfect fit. And it's all aligned perfectly with the stars, and it's an amazing experience. So, wow. Peru. So what else did you learn in Peru, and how was the Machu Picchu trail? I want to hear your experience.
Yeah, so basically the reason I went down there was I started in Colombia and I found this trip that was basically I went down there to do ayahuasca just because I was curious and I was just like the idea of it like going into the jungle and taking like some plant medicine and having a mystical experience, it just like piqued my curiosity. So I was just like, I can go to the jungle, do an experience, and see Machu Picchu. So I was just like, there's like one of my first, I don't know if I can curse on here, like F it moments, and I was just like, I'm doing it. You know, I got some money saved up, and honestly, is one of the greatest decisions of my life. Just going for it, and I think it shifted a lot of things in terms of like, okay, I can travel alone and still be okay. I think it built confidence. It built like social structures of okay, I can connect with people outside of my home and yeah, so I went down there. I went to the jungle in Iquitos. We did it was a 4 day boat ride down. No, I'm sorry, 14-hour boat ride from Colombia down to Peru. Spent 5 days in the jungle, and then yeah, from there I went to Cusco by myself, and then yeah, I did Machu Picchu, and
Did you
like
do the Incan Trail, the whole hike?
I didn't. I signed up for like a 4 day trip,
Okay.
so it like included mountain biking, like down a
Okay.
hill. I got to like go zip lining in the jungle, and
Yeah,
yeah,
there's so many fun things to do. I think I actually did zip lining in Peru. I also did ayahuasca, or shared ayahuasca with the villagers in a deep village. Now it just happened to be part of our tour guide out of Cusco. Our guide knew the tribe deep in the jungle, and we had like 30 people in our group. We were doing whitewater rafting. We literally had 30 people. We had a chef, we had porters. It was like a 5 day trek into, well, that one was into the jungle, but when we went into Manu in Peru, Manu Biosphere Reserve, just like half the group was like very hippie, and I was about 20, 22 years old, like super hippies, like French organic chefs, and like we were people
right.
from all over the world. And like half the group, about 15 of us, were like a younger part of the group, and then there was the other 15 was like kind of like 40s to 60s, and I'm in my 40s now, so I can say that. But like 40 to 60-year-old, more professionals, like doctors and stuff, that somehow, and even people 60, and they were whitewater rafting. But when we got into a certain part of the trip, deep in the jungle with the Machi Genka tribe, which they only have solar. We're literally going by boats for 4 days. We were like asking our guide, "Hey, do you know anywhere we can try ayahuasca?" And he's like, "I do." And so he arranged it so that we could participate in a ceremony with one of these tribes, with their men only, I guess, that they had doing the ceremony, and they had a young apprentice that served it. And so it was very authentic. It was deep in the jungle with no lights. You couldn't bring. There were no cell phones back then in 2002. No flashlights were allowed. It was just very pure in the jungle, and I'll never forget. But that was all part of just also, yeah, letting it happen, going on these adventures, and you're not planning everything.
Yeah,
You might not know where you're going to sleep the next night. Hey, that's okay. You're
yeah.
gonna figure it out. You know.
That that sounds amazing, right? Just kind of whimsically, just letting what's going to unfold unfold,
And
and
trust. You build trust amongst your fellow travelers. Trust in yourself that
yeah,
the world is beautiful. There's a lot of culture. You have to keep your wits about you too. You
That's
know.
that's it too. But
Yeah.
also you brought up like a point that's coming up for me is when you travel and you're outside of your known environment, I notice for myself, and like I imagine this is relatable for other people is it turns certain things on in your body that you're not used to, like certain sensors, certain like awareness. It's like a heightened awareness, and it's something in the human experience which it's like so heightened for me, like I didn't realize it, like that. I think it's a security thing, right? You know, but it also in that moment it drops you more into the present because you're more aware and you're more in tune to your environment. So
Sure.
it's a
Being in a
beautiful.
new environment is so important. And at that age too, traveling the world, you really get not only an appreciation for what, blessings we have here, but also you learn so much respect for the world that it's a bigger place than just the US or just your state. Like the US alone is so huge. I've never been to Boulder. I've only been to Denver and
Mhm.
to Aspen one time for a race I did. But I would love to come to Boulder. I don't know anything about it. Just like when you go to Peru, I didn't know anything about Peru. So beyond Peru, let's keep moving through the travel discussion before we go into like the health. I heard you went over to Asia and did like a what was that all
Yeah.
about?
So I did I would say like 3 trips outside of the US. There was Peru, and then around like 2015 my cousin was living in Prague, so I went to go visit him there, and then we did a trip to Austria, Slovenia, and I went to like Budapest. So I was out there for like 10 days checking out Europe. I was in Berlin. Um, yeah, and then in 2018, this was like the apex of my travel. I was bartending at the time, and then I think I read 4 Hour Work Week, and I was living at home.
Tim Ferriss, right?
Tim Ferriss, yeah. So basically, before I decided to do this, I was bartending. I moved into an apartment by myself. I rented out both rooms just so I could have my own space. And
Okay.
like, I kind of just had the intuition. I was like, I can save money by having a roommate, but I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna make this space mine and just like kind of go inwards. And that's like when I developed like journaling, and it was like reading books like the 4 Hour Work Week. And that's when I got inspired to travel for 6 months alone. And I went to my boss and I was like, hey, I gotta do this. I gotta go
Yeah.
travel. And then she's like, cool. Well, on the outside of that, I can just like give you a sabbatical and you can keep your job when you get
I
back.
was about to say the word sabbatical. Everyone needs a sabbatical. That's amazing. So she's like, consider this your sabbatical. Your job is here for you.
Yeah, and that
That's
that
incredible.
that reminds
Wow.
me of like the quote. It's like follow your bliss, and there will be doors opening where there once were walls. And it's just like I didn't even know that was an option, but me having like the courage to step into my intuition and to like go travel and to like go after my goals and dreams, I'm like being gifted by the universe almost. And that was like a beautiful lesson in and of
So where
itself.
did you go? Exactly. You said India?
Yeah.
Was it
So
Nepal? I forgot the
I
countries.
I had mapped the plan to go to India, Nepal, and then I wanted to do like Vietnam, Taos, and finish in Bali. But the way it worked out was I flew into India, and then I stayed at the Osho Meditation Center
Okay.
for.
I heard about Osho this last weekend. Actually, one of my friends, Dogan from Turkey, was talking a lot about Osho. We looked him up
Yeah,
I didn't know anything about him. My girlfriend and I looked him up and read some of his quotes.
there's a great documentary called Wild Wild Country on Netflix. I
Okay.
highly recommend watching that, but that like is
You
it
said
can be.
Wild Wild Country?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but with him, he can be like highly controversial in terms
Yeah.
of just like his teachings. But yeah, I went there and I had like some of the most profound meditations that I've ever had, and that definitely like deepened my practice. And when I was there, they
Were
would.
they like vows of silence where you're in a like I've seen those in Thailand, or were they more like were they part of were you at an ashram or some type of a temple?
It was basically like an ashram, but it was more civilized, if that makes sense. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Just like a dormitory kind of that has like structure to it.
Yeah, and then it would
Yeah.
just be they would have a schedule of different types of meditations one could do, and
Okay.
yeah, you
So it's
just
like
kind
an institute. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So like I learned different practices of like different meditations, and one interesting thing that happened there was they would do this thing like a nightly meeting where there would be like meditation talk, and then at the end everyone would just like dance, and like I'm just like looking around like people are dancing like around me, and I'm like this isn't me. Like I'm not that like confident. And then
Yeah.
like time after time, just like showing up, like I kind of loosened up, and then
Okay.
it kind of helped me allow to dance more in like a public setting and not to like really care too much about what other people think.
That's a
Uh,
big thing for a lot of people is the confidence to speak in front of people, the confidence to dance in front of people, the confidence to, play as a DJ. It's the same thing, and I
yeah,
also was very nervous dancing is even until I started to do it more and more, just even trying it, just little bits in the dark, like whatever you got to do. No one,
yeah,
like in a setting like that where everyone's meditating, they're focused on their inner growth, not on external or I think a lot of this goes back to the bullying a lot of us endured growing up. A lot of us have been bullied in the US and other places. Pretty
yeah,
common to have
right.
these insecurities about expressing yourself in the US. I know for me it probably goes back to bullying.
Yeah, and like even just being a guy and like moving your hips a
Sure.
certain way, and you can be like labeled gay or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, totally. It's a cultural thing in the US to be,
yeah,
and in other countries
here's a
for
question.
men
What
not to, yeah.
what was tougher for you, like dancing in front of people or DJing? Or do they go hand in hand?
Um, it depends on the context because like when you're dancing in front of people, it might be 30 people, like at a small club or something. Like I go to some underground deep house clubs in Miami Beach before the COVID epidemic, but they're still open now, just not as late. But it'd be like 30 people in there, 50 people. 10 people might see you, dancing at most, But when it comes to DJing, I've played gigs from, 5 people to like 300, I think is my biggest crowd. And
Yeah.
300s, you get the butterflies like crazy going up there in front of a outdoor festival like Fireflies I was at a couple of weeks ago in
Okay.
Homestead. And it's this beautiful, fire ceremony, like a Burning Man meets. It also had a cacao ceremony. We had shrooms there, but it was incredible. We're going to do more of them out at Gaia's Hideout in Miami. But playing in front of that crowd gave me a small taste. And other crowds like that I'd only done one or two. It's actually always been Fireflies in the last 6 months, this new festival. I went from playing in front of just a live stream online, which is actually easier because you're in your home, but still the camera's on you. You can see yourself. The more practice, the better. I've done probably 50 to 80 live streams for Twitch and YouTube and Instagram and Deep Radio London, all these entities. But when it just came down to practice, and then when it comes down to playing in front of an audience, same thing. You start to become more comfortable. But the 300 people was definitely butterflies, and I can only imagine what 1,000 or 10. I don't think I ever have a dream to do that because I like playing in the daytime, and I'm more of like a dreamer type DJ. Like I like to chill, down tempo stuff. Like I'm not into like the fireworks and the. I mean that's all great, but like like the EDM style ultra music. Like I'd rather connect with a medium-sized group because I also have a thing about large groups. I get like very anxious. I can't be in a huge group of people for very long. Like I need to just kind of go find a space separate. I think that's pretty common and people find that. But for me, I think it probably DJing is harder because there's a lot of musicians in the crowd than dancing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of musicians in the crowd, a lot of DJs, and if you don't beat match correctly, if you don't have a transition that works out perfectly, if you don't, even your selections, a lot of things are being judged. Oh my God, he just chose that song after this song. Like if you're not consistent in your theme and in your programming, they have words for it, like how you develop the story of your set, like how it progresses. Like if it's choppy, if you're all over the place, you throw a pop song in, all of a sudden out of you're playing a deep house song, then you throw some like remix of like some 1980s tune in there. It might, you got to make sure it works. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of risk taking as a DJ, unless you play it safe. Same thing with dancing. You can take a risk and get really, I've seen some dancers in Miami get really exciting and experimental. And then you see the people that are just kind of bobbing their head. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I am is just, I'm trying to loosen up. I'm from Wisconsin, I'm not from Miami where everyone's super, warm and expressive and like Latin, what do you call it? Like salsa dancing and bachata. They have all these good dancing down here. So it's tough. I'm not exactly super rhythmic, but it was a good question. Thank you for asking me that. I think that DJing's harder than dancing. There's
Yeah.
more at stake. Like if you accidentally hit the wrong button, the whole music shuts off, and that's happened. If I hit the crossfader, I could shut the whole system off because I accidentally push the crossfader an inch or two, and then it's pushing to the other side of the channel, not the channel I wanted on. And it could be an accidental elbow, or it could be
Yeah.
something going on, you know, and you're like, all of a sudden, like, what's going on with the music? What happened? And it's
Yeah.
happened to me 2 or 3 times. It's a crossfader. Oh my God. I accidentally touched it, you know, like,
Well,
so,
I
you
like
know,
that because it kind of
there's anxiety, like you want it to go correctly, but you want to be in the moment and in the flow. So I think that's the same thing with dancing, you know.
Mhm.
It's a good
Yeah,
analogy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I like
But
that.
but
Just
let's go
learn.
back to your travels. You were
Yeah.
saying like when did the journaling start? Like did that start when Peru or before that? Like how did, because you're an avid journaler. I want to learn now about your journaling because I was telling my girlfriend this morning that I wanted to learn a lot about journaling from you because I think I've never found a good system. And I saw that you use a special notebook, a special pen. I saw it on your Instagram the other day that you found, like the last 2 years, you have this amazing pen and notebook that you always buy, and
Mhm.
that's helped you. And so I want to learn all your techniques, like, because I want to start to journal. So how would someone like me who has always struggled with, I start a Word file on my computer, a little diary or notebook about, you know, maybe, but then it falls and gets lost somewhere in the matrix, and then you have scraps of paper. And
Yeah,
how do you organize yourself? How do you structure your day? And what are your tips for people who want to, and why do you journal? You know, what has it brought you? What
yeah,
benefits?
yeah. So I'm like in the camp of being old school, and I like the pen and paper, and I think there's some type of, I don't know if primal is the right word, but some type of thing that
Like a
happens that
therapeutic thing, yeah,
right.
versus just
And I
typing.
that might be changing with like computers and just how we're adapting to them and evolving. But yeah, journaling has been like a huge part and process in my life. And it goes back to when I said I was living at home and then I was living by myself. I gave up drinking for a year. I was renting out 2 rooms so I could have like my own space just to kind of like have my personal development dojo and just experiment with life. And that's when I started meditating on a daily basis. And that's when I started my journaling practice on a daily basis. So, what I would do back then was I would meditate for 20 minutes and then I would like get
Do
a
you
cup of,
meditate sitting up like in a bolster? They call them the uh, bolsters, like or the chairs, like, or how do you
I,
meditate? 'Cause-
I just do like a cushion. I have like a
okay,
circular
so
generic.
spine straight. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, cross
all right,
leg, but not like full lotus, but just
okay.
cross leg, yeah, straight. Um, and then yeah, just grab like usually so it's like meditation, caffeine, journaling, and those are my triggers. And like I find it to be important in terms of triggering your habits, where meditation leads to caffeine leads to journaling, and it's like they're both all together at the same time where like something feels off if I don't do that just because I've put in all the reps to do it.
Okay.
But
And is
like
this in the morning generally, or is
yeah,
there's? Okay.
first like waking up, you know,
I have
I
some friends that do that too. They do like a 20 minute. They give themselves 20 minutes exactly to write as much about anything they want. But it's a 20-minute window first thing in the morning. My friends at Team Vinci, and they teach everyone in the group to do that. Like first thing when you wake up, it's almost like a brain dump, but or just your intentions and just
yeah,
anything you want. 20 minutes, no rules, no structure. Just write it down.
yeah.
20 minutes.
So
You know.
yeah, so basically the way it started was I would just do one page to completion,
Okay.
regardless of how much time it took. And sometimes I would just get blocked and I would just draw a line at the bottom and like be done. But now I've gotten to a point where I can just write. Right now I'm reading The Artist's Way, which is a good journaling kind of um, it's a tool in a sense. And this lady recommends, her name's Julia Cameron, who wrote it. It's called The Morning Pages, and she suggests you write 3 pages, just stream of consciousness, and then stop. But for me, in terms of journaling, I find it just so important. There's just so many benefits that I think a lot of people don't realize. And like one, it's mental bandwidth. We have all of these thoughts. Like some people estimate 60,000 a day, and some people even estimate that 90% of them are negative and repetitive.
Oh
So
my God.
if we think of it in that realm and like all these things are just swirling and these thoughts are clicking like this and they're repetitive and we don't get them out of our mind and onto a page, like just think of all the mental bandwidth that like clears just by like taking it and trapping it on
It's like a
paper.
release, like,
Yeah, yeah. And like it's mental energy too. And just think of like clouds moving or just
mhm.
like energy moving through the body and onto page and out from the spiritual or just kind of mental realm into the physical. And yeah, there's like it's basically magic, right? Taking something up here that doesn't exist and then putting it here. And then like when you do that, it opens things up. You become more expansive in your mind and you have more space and room to think clearly. And yeah, that's like a huge reason I like to journal. And then another reason is it can tap you into your intuition. And a lot of that kind of just goes into what I'm talking about, like these pathways, in my opinion, and like the way that the body flows, they get jumbled up or there's like blockages and there's like the ego mind, but then there's also the higher self. And the way that we interpret that, I'm sure, is all different. But I think by just relating to the self and like understanding the thoughts that we're having, we almost get to step outside of ourselves and see things from a higher perspective. And in terms of tapping into the intuition, for me, I notice like, say if I'm writing a page and it just feels very surface level and it's just like, today was a great day, blah, blah, blah. But I'm getting all of that out to get to the more juicier stuff. And then like on the other side of that, it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm like writing things, but it doesn't feel like it's me. And it's like, I'm
Oh,
connected to
wow.
something higher.
Source, like channeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And
So once you open, like, it's like warming up, like with exercise. You get started by more of the superficial stuff. Here's what I did today. Dot dot dot. I ran into this
yeah.
person. I did this. I went to the grocery store, whatever. Or I felt good overall. It was sunny. I went for a run. Um, then it starts to get deeper eventually, and then you start to go into your, what is it like? Do you think like, are you going into a shared consciousness? What do they call that? A overall, like, well, or is it your
Collective.
higher self? Yeah,
Yeah.
where
Um,
you're like, that's what some mystics have said they do, right? And channel
yeah. I think like that's a good word is
shared
channel.
consciousness. Yeah.
Um, but I think it's getting out of your own way and in that process you are connecting to something outside of yourself. It's because we aren't our minds, and I think like a lot of times we get caught in the, I don't know if it's a trap, but like just this gnosis of like, okay, we're having all these thoughts, I'm thinking this way, and we don't have to believe all of our thoughts. And it's yeah. So
Yeah, I heard that recently, that our opinion of ourself is something we've created, our own personality, even based on our own reinforcements of what we think about ourselves. And it's very different than it could be, which is you can be whatever you want to be, really.
yeah,
And you don't have to limit yourself to just what you've always told yourself. And it's like a story, obviously. But I have like two really quick questions about journaling. That
yeah,
um, First of all, I'm really curious about what you found to be the best notebook and pen. I know you shared it on your Instagram. So for those that want to check out Mike's Instagram, it's Mike DVS15. Is that correct?
yeah,
And so I want to get into your equipment and why you like that versus other things. And then I wanted to ask you too, how long you've been doing this and if you have any interest in ever publishing any of it for the general public. Those are my three
yeah,
big questions.
yeah. So basically, I have here a moleskin, and it's just a basic notebook. And for me, it's just like very high quality. The cover it's strong and durable, but it's also flexible. And yeah, just there's something about it where it's just like clean, crisp, compact, and yeah. And then I'll usually buy a 3 pack of them, so it's a bit expensive, but I don't mind doing it because it kind of helps me take the practice more seriously, and it's like an investment on the practice. So it's like 3 for $20, which can be a lot to some people.
But you know what? When you have your collection and you have it all stored properly and it looks uniform versus having
Yeah,
like a legal pad, like what I've used and gets frustrating, Mike. And I have a couple other follow-up questions, like what do you do with errors? Like I use like these legal pads, like
yeah,
so basic, and
yeah,
these get all frayed and you rip pages out and there's like, what do so I see the value in spending the extra money because you're going to have it binded, it's going to have a
right.
nice cover on the front and back, and then
Yeah,
you're going to have it on a shelf and you can organize it by progression. You can put on the cover,
Yeah.
the time frame. But what do you do when you make an error, or do you ever rip pages out, or do you just scribble things out, or what is your
So
mentality about that?
it's rare that I rip pages out unless it's hyper important, because like I kind of view this with like reverence, and I
Okay.
don't want to do that. But to answer the other question, see, I think that's where a lot of people fumble and get tripped up with journaling is, I think this is my story, but I think people look for excuses, or they buy into the resistance of like, I want it to be perfect. I have bad handwriting. I don't know where to start. I'm blocked.
The
If I scribble
perfection
it,
story versus,
yeah,
yeah,
if I
versus
scribble,
consistency. Yeah.
yeah, if I scribble, it's gone. But like, see, that's the thing with journaling. And you mentioned, would I ever publish anything? So for me, journaling and writing are two different things. Journaling is a personal journey. It's a thing to allow the mind to get clear so you can go into your day with more presence. And it's not always that I'll go back and read the things. And basically right now I've gotten to a point where I'm writing so fast that my handwriting is just terrible. You could probably only read 80% of it. And I think that's a good point, because it's not about showing it to others. It's not about going back to it. It's just about getting it out.
Okay.
Whatever's there, just get it out, to just think of it as like movement, right? Life is always moving. And if we keep these thoughts stagnated in our mind, we're just gonna feel
So it's the
stagnant.
practice. You're so into the practice because it's such a good therapy for the mind and the body and the soul, but
Yeah,
you don't care about, and that's a good perspective. Like, 'cause I think a lot of people when they think about this, they might be thinking about, well, what am I going to do with this someday? Am I going to show it to my grandkids? Am I going to look back and read
yeah,
it and want to, or am I going to want to create like a life kind of story of like, okay, like as a runner, I've seen some pretty crazy things on my runs, like, and I've had some pretty crazy experiences, like, so like I often thought about like writing down a lot of them, to have like stories of a runner, you know what I mean? But like
yeah.
that you could look back on, like, because I figure you're also getting some really valuable insight, that you might want to use for other projects. Whether are you writing? Are you like, when we talk about publishing, are you interested in that, or is it something that
Yeah.
doesn't drive
So
you?
So that like brings up two things. I'll like sidebar to this other thing that comes up for me is, a lot of people won't journal because they're afraid that other people will read it. And I think that is like a great point that you brought up. It's just,
Your feelings, your
it's a
opinions.
fear. It's
Yeah.
a fear, and then you are being honest with yourself, hopefully, in the pages, and like that's another great thing. It's, where else do you get to be like honest with yourself if you don't have those types of people in your life?
Like
It's,
a diary, people they don't want
yeah,
the, hey, you might know everything about what I think about everyone then.
exactly.
You have
And
like access to your brain, but
yeah, and I think it's like, yes, there is a chance that my roommates can read my journal, and I leave it out on the coffee table. So it's true. It's building trust within myself and those around me. And just, here's the thing, right? I'm gonna die. There's a highly chance that these notebooks will still be around. And if I'm dead and people are reading it, who gives a like, who
yeah.
really cares? It's, life moves on. And I think we get stuck in these fears, and then fears just like hold us, and then it's hard to move outside of them. But
That's a good point.
yeah, you mentioned like, do I write, and would I
Are you
sit?
interested in publishing ever a
Yeah.
book, or because you've done
So
some interesting travels and a lot of journaling and meditation. I think there's some insight to share.
yeah. So I had started a blog in right when I moved in by myself, and I was like I said, just experimenting and exploring life and trying new things. And I had started a blog, and then I was writing up until about 2019. It was probably right before COVID started. Something happened where GoDaddy messed up my stuff, and I had a blog for like 3 or 4 years, wrote some like really cool stuff, and it all just disappeared. I had never backed up the writing.
What? No
Uh,
way.
yeah,
That
so
sounds almost impossible. Isn't there also an internet though where you can like rewind the clock or
I
something?
think
Because
there's the Go Back machine,
go
but
back, yeah,
I can go back there and like get it.
try to salvage some of it.
But yeah,
You'd have to
so
retype it all probably or something. Yeah,
it was just like interesting, and I feel like that was a good lesson in like
good lesson.
impermanence, right? And It's
Were you upset at first? Like that's a
oh
natural human reaction. Yeah, right.
oh yeah, I
You seem
was
like a very also peaceful, person. So
yeah, I got pretty angry, and like I was like attached to the writings because I had put so much time and energy, and kind of like it wasn't necessarily like it was for me, but it was just to put it out there, and just like if anyone wants
mhm.
to check it out, check it out. But
But I mean, a similar example could be I was watching a documentary on Netflix, Down to Earth with Zac Efron.
mm,
And the guy that he was traveling with, the journalist, was in, where were they? They were in South America or somewhere in the jungle. And his home in Malibu burned down to the ground.
Darren Olean,
Yeah, and he
yeah,
lost everything. Him and his wife lived there. I mean, they lost everything. He went
yeah,
back home and his wife was okay, his dog was okay or whatever. And like, but every single part of his history was burned and gone. And he just went through and sifted the ashes. And I think that's a pretty powerful lesson to what happened with your GoDaddy experience or your blog and also your journaling is that we don't own anything or get the right to decide if it's going to just disappear someday. It's going to disappear, you know?
yeah,
uh, what happens if there's an EMP or whatever and electromagnetic pulse and like all the internet's taken down or whatever and what happened, everyone's so reliant on the internet, but then we're also physical things too are also impermanent. Like there's got to be, it's got to just be, it's something that also is part of you. So I think what you're saying is the release, the practice is the most important part, not the owning of it, of the rights of it, or sharing it, or
hmm
having it around for 1,000 years. Like the Bible's been able to be preserved, even though it's been attempted to be destroyed. It's there's a lot of things that happen on the earth, volcanoes,
yeah. It's
supernovas.
yeah, like for me, it's just been a place to explore life, to explore my own psyche, and I think when you write it down, you get to look at it from a different perspective because it's tangible, it's there, it's not swirling, so it's like it's not
Hmm.
whimsical. I can't maybe hold it and grab it, but when you put it on page,
When
you
you're
get to
writing it, yeah, it's got to be like running, it's a meditation. It's also a release. Like when I don't run, I don't feel the same as after I run. And
yeah,
I also have a routine that I do before my run, and that's what gets me into my run. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
understand what you're saying, like the meditation, the caffeine, which I am a fan of a little bit of caffeine each day, like 1 cup of really quality coffee. So I want to kind of segue now if we can. I
yeah,
love that journaling section. We're going to put this up on YouTube. So that's going to be a whole section on journaling.
sweet,
Um, and if anyone has any questions, follow Mike at Mike DVS15 and ask him about his journaling. Oh, I wanted to know what type of pen real quick before we transition
yeah.
to nutrition.
I use the Pilot, so it's the
I,
G7.
I love the Pilot. Okay, G7 Pilot, so
Yeah.
black.
So I just found out that you can get like actual just these guys, and so I've been doing
The
that.
refill. Yeah, the
Yeah,
refill.
so I just started doing that, so I'm not left with all this
Nice.
leftover.
Environmentally friendly.
Yeah,
Awesome. So Pilot gel pens and Moleskin notebooks. That's what I'm gonna start doing because I wanna. I really believe that's gonna help me because I get anxiety sometimes. Running helps me with my anxiety. Um, Talking and connecting with people helps with my anxiety, but I think
yeah,
writing is gonna help too, and just releasing all the powerful, things coming into our consciousness all the time. Once we become more woke to, nutrition and wellness and self-development, spirituality, the earth as a organism, and all of us are citizens here. Why are we fighting wars? Why are we, all this politics? It's crazy, and there's a lot to think about. And taking ayahuasca, especially the ultimate plant teacher, and
sure.
mushrooms like our medicinal mushrooms, I'm sure that makes your brain extra wide open. Your pineal gland, your everything is streaming. You know,
Mm.
so I want to keep this conversation going with you at some point. In the future, we'll continue it. But let's transition uh, and also I'm sure with the journaling, it takes like consistency, right? Like just like with nutrition,
Yeah,
20 plus days of doing it. Just don't give up, like keep going. You're going to have little downfalls. You're going to have you might one day forget, but just don't worry. Keep going, right?
hmm yeah,
Okay, good. I figured everything in life is about consistency, not perfection. Um, right? Does
yeah.
that
No,
seem right? I mean, because like you're going to miss a day. Have you missed a day journaling?
yeah, I have, and
Okay.
I like gotten to a point where I get okay with missing it. Like I when it comes to building these habits, I can be hard on myself, and with that, I've kind of like learned if I have a busy morning and I miss it, like there's a part of myself that will be like, kind of whipping the lash or yeah, but
To make sure you don't miss the next one. It's the same way
yeah,
with running. Yeah.
but I'm kind of learning now like it's okay, and then there'll even be times where like I'll miss a week, and it's just getting back on the horse and noticing that I feel different when I have that week without journaling, and it's just the low hanging fruit for me to really optimize my mental health.
For your
And
wellness and your mental health. That's awesome.
yeah,
So let's talk about Live Ultimate, because we have
yeah,
about 13 minutes left here, and I feel
let's,
like we haven't had a chance to dive in. So let's spend this last segment on Live Ultimate, and take
yeah,
people's questions. If anyone has any questions for Mike, I'm keeping an eye on the Instagram live here. We got
awesome.
another 13 or 14 minutes left. So Mike, how did you learn about Live Ultimate, and what do you like? How have the products helped you? Let's start out there.
Yeah, so the way I got introduced to the company was first I had became aware of it through Coach Jeremy and his Instagram, and I met him at a health and wellness conference called Paleo FX in Austin, Texas in 2018. And then fast forward to last September, he was moving from Miami to California, and then I saw on Instagram that he was in Boulder. So I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And then he asked me if he could like rent a room from my house, and I was like, "No, dude, just come stay with me for free." And like 3 days turned into a week, and that was the first time that I got to try the product. He kindly just gave me some
He had the
elixir.
jar, the elixir. I gotta
Yeah,
gotta go get one.
so it was
Yeah, one
cool
there.
too. I had just flown back from New Jersey, and then I came back to Boulder, and then it was that week that I had returned. And yeah, it was really cool because I just got to show him Boulder and just explore. And we would just wake up, take the elixir, maybe work out, and then throw some shrooms in the coffee, and then maybe go into town, do some things. But yeah, I just, I, I, it's
You
like you.
learned about it, and they tell you, oh, we are also a movement. We're not just products. We have this incredible tribe. Like, it's a
Yeah,
huge tribe of like almost 2,000 people now that have joined our mindful movement. Like,
yeah. So
because
so
I know
that
he's like Coach Jeremy is very, he'll teach about a lot of mentalities, but he doesn't push like a sale. He doesn't push like enrollment.
he
How
even
did he broach
shifted.
it? How did he tell you about it?
He even like shifted my framework of like selling to sharing, right? And it's just like providing and showing people what's
Absolutely.
possible with this. And yeah, he kind of called me out on my bullshit and kind of caught some like my limiting beliefs where on the looking 7 months down the road, he was totally right. Where he's like, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, I'm quiet. Like I can't sell products, even though it feels aligned with like my passions in life. Those were the signals that were coming up in my brain. Like you can't
Because
do
you had
this.
previous experience with using cordyceps in, was it Nepal? You said
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So
So you knew
before,
about medicinal mushrooms, and then here comes this company that Coach Jeremy is an ambassador for,
right.
Live Ultimate.
And the last
With
time we talked, that
Yeah.
same health conference that I met Jeremy at, I met Jeff Chilton with
Oh
Namex.
yeah, that's right. You met our
And
mushroom grower, like
yeah,
previous to us even working with him. Oh,
right.
actually, I think we started working in like 2016. But
Okay.
and you met him though outside of Live Ultimate context at an
Yeah,
event, and you learned
yeah,
all about mushrooms. His mentality has been growing since the 70s. So mushrooms are always a big thing. You wanted to share them, but you were just shy. I mean, I was very shy too. I still am shy. I was the shyest kid. But I think, once you start to become educated, you want to share too, like how it's helped you. Like for me, it's someone just asked, what's the best mushroom for ADD or attention deficit, hyperactive, whatever disorder, which I think a lot of us struggle with. I think,
yeah,
I don't know if there's a best one, but maybe lion's mane because it's the
yeah.
brain mushroom.
So cordyceps I took when I was training for a marathon in 2015, and I
Oh,
took
wow.
I took it even during the race, and I was just like, man, like this I've
So we
never.
have a huge commonality there. I did the exact
Yeah,
same. Cordyceps for if you're a runner,
yeah.
that's big.
And it's
Helps your
it's
lung performance, helps your stamina.
it's
It's
so it's
basically,
so it's so
yeah.
palpable too. And like you said, it's like, oh, I like know about this, but like I said, I'm shy, and like this year I'm kind of trying to step more into sharing like my wisdom about health and wellness, and not just kind of be like a hoarder of all this information. Um, but
That's a good way to put it, because you've collected so much interesting information in your young life already,
mm,
and we all have, but sometimes we feel like, like you said, you don't want to be a hoarder. That's a good example.
mhm. Yeah. Um, but yeah, in terms of Live Ultimate, it's really been a beautiful catalyst of like my own self growth, and it's kind of allowing me to step outside of my comfort zone in terms of talking to people, reaching out to people, doing Instagram lives. I'd never done one of these prior to Live Ultimate, and like getting to talk with people like you it's just like so awesome. And like I love this stuff, like just geeking out on things that I'm passionate about and going outside of my comfort zone to do so. And that's why I'm wearing this shirt, just because I'm like, okay, I have this really goofy shirt, but I might as well just wear it because it makes me feel uncomfortable. And like I had this huge battle in my head with doing so. Um, but yeah, it's like such a beautiful company, and I'm fortunate enough to have like a beautiful community out here. But I'm also noticing how people who don't really have community, people who don't have like-minded people, like Live Ultimate can be that for them. And especially in the era of COVID, when there's not much connection, and we're like learning together, we're growing together, we're supporting one another, and I find that to be a very beautiful thing. Um,
You're right.
yeah,
Yeah. There's so many new friendships formed out of those 2,000 new ambassadors and our customers. Like the customers interact too, but the ambassadors really interact like through Zoom weekly training calls, where it's not just like some like training call where it's like, all right, I want to make sure you're all awake there. Like, hold up a sign. Like, it's like, this is really powerful. You guys are like going through sometimes training on how to break through limiting beliefs, or just even sharing your own like feelings about network marketing, or about sales, or about even health, or even um, what's the word, like rejection, um, you know, comparing yourself to others, perfection. There's just so many things you guys are breaking down in there, and they're doing things like gratitude training. You're perfect. Your 10 life. My girlfriend did
yeah,
that. She's at like level 3 now of your 10 life, and she started that because of the Live Ultimate training. One
yeah,
of our leaders introduced her to that, and so our leaders we're not just going through sales numbers, although the sales numbers are cool too. Like you also want to know maybe how you did, but
yeah,
don't
yeah.
judge yourself. Like that's a big thing. Don't judge yourself. Like it takes a year or more sometimes to grow your business, or 10 years, or it can take, or I'm sorry, 10 years is a little ridiculous. But I find in network marketing, you got to give yourself a year. You got to be patient. You got to
Right.
get trained and learn, how to like really feel comfortable in your skin. I think that's a good way to put it. And
Yeah.
also how to share things without worrying about, oh my God, I don't know as much as Brian does about all these mushrooms, you know. But it's a tribe, we really support each other, love each other. And I actually grew up in my early 20s in a cult, in teens, and I would never compare Live Ultimate to a cult, but it has all of the best qualities in that we accept and love each other. We don't judge each other. We're spread out all over the US, even the world. We're connected by technology and by the products and by our shared beliefs. And we all believe in this concept of living ultimate, which is living your best life possible, which is giving to those less fortunate. There's a responsibility when you live ultimate to give ultimate. There's the uncompromising standards, which are our core values, like have core values as a human being.
Yeah.
There's our belief that we must constantly evolve. So evolution, and, not limiting yourself. And, you got to start, like the whole thing about knowing everything, like you just got to start talking about it, and you're going to learn more. That's how it happened to me. I didn't know everything about. A funny story is I was misspelling shiitake for many years, and I got a degree in botany, and part of my degree was mycology. And
Yeah.
I mean, and I prided myself on Latin. I knew thousands, hundreds of plant names in Wisconsin, maybe thousands. I was a field botanist. I knew so many Latin names. I could write them all out. I knew, all the interesting wildflowers and trees and grasses and sedges and ferns, even mushrooms. And I really got into the taxonomy. But I was misspelling shiitake with one I. I was spelling it
Mm.
Shitake. It has two I's, and Jeff Chilton had to point it out to me like 2 years ago. And here I am studying mushrooms for almost 20 years, and I felt so at first embarrassed, and then I realized, no, listen, that's just a superficiality of life. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
that you're, Someone said, if this is a cult, sign me up. Carly Marie Hart. But it's not a cult. And honestly, I was in a religious cult in my 20s, and it wasn't a full-blown cult. It wasn't like this. It was just in the spectrum. It was cultish, and that I wasn't allowed to be independent. I wasn't allowed. That's the bad quality of a cult, where it's controlling. Good quality of a cult is we have so many amazing leaders, because there's a cult of personality. There's also a cult of a cult of knowledge. There's a cult of leadership. There's a cult of, let's think of good cults. Let's think of, and even the cult I was in, a religious cult, I grew a lot because of it, and I thank them, and I don't have any regrets. I just also know I was very young, and maybe I didn't, I didn't have the opportunity in college to experience a normal college life, I felt like. But beyond that, I'm thankful. I still have best friends from the group. I just felt a little controlled and a little, pressured, a little manipulated in a sense. But that, maybe that was my own creation too. But ultimately, I grew as a human being because of it, and I grew out of my shell, and I went and explored the world. I moved to Miami from Wisconsin. So I think, with Live Ultimate, sorry to go on that big,
No,
story, but
no, I didn't know that about you.
I think that, I don't share it very often, but, we are an amazing tribe, and we, I think we're tapping into something, that a company is more than just products. Like, a company is a movement. Like, it's a group of, people that are striving to help everyone, and help the world. We care so much about our packaging. Everyone's like, get those plastic scoops out of there. We can't have plastic scoops. We got them out of there. So.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there. It's a constant evolution, and I find myself to be fortunate to answer the call to have Coach Jeremy come over my house and share this with me. I feel pretty blessed to be in this community, to be growing with Live Ultimate, for it to support me. And down the road, like, who knows what this could really turn into for me. And I see the possibility. I see the capability of, like, what this actually can turn into. And it's so amazing to have leaders like Aaron and people who share a vision with, like, you and Mark and Rod.
Yes. And how amazing is that we met all these people. I met you. I met all of our leaders, 2,000 friends, through a company. That's incredible. How much, lifelong friendship we're going to have, and knowledge we're going to share.
Yeah.
That's the power of a product. Even the product brought us all together.
And it's only
Mark's vision.
And yeah, it's only getting started. And I love the analogy of, like, mycelium and, like, the network of mushrooms and how that's growing, and how it is a movement. And I think people are waking up to the idea that there are psychedelic mushrooms and there's medicinal mushrooms, and they're not this thing. They're totally separate. And I think people are waking up and becoming more open to the idea of taking something that's good for them, even though in a past story they thought was, this will make me hallucinate, but
yeah.
It's really, it has medicinal properties. And I think people are waking up to the idea of mushrooms being able to be a supplement, and to support people with immunity, to support people with energy and focus. And I think even that fact, like that statement, that mushrooms can support with immunity, focus, and energy, I think that's like a misnomer for people. And I think a lot of people get surprised when they actually try it, because it does work. And
similar story to, like, your parents might have been resistant to, like, THC and, the discussion about that, but then CBD, and they start to realize when they get in their 60s or 70s, that, oh my God, it's helping with my knee. And you never would have heard your parents ever except talking about, something like marijuana or THC. And then all of a sudden they do get a shift. Sometimes, hopefully, it doesn't always happen, but, there's a shift where they realize that this isn't about what they were programmed by politics or by society. Oh my God, if I buy a mushroom product, people might think I'm some type of weirdo. You know what I mean? Like, no, these have scientific properties.
Yeah.
And they can help your knee, or they can help your mind, or they can help your energy, without, taking 20 cups of coffee a day,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. Well, Mike, we're on the 1 hour mark right now.
Awesome.
I know this is our second conversation. We did one on the personal channel. I want to come visit you in Boulder eventually. I've never been to Boulder. I'm a big runner. The running community is huge there. Yeah. A lot of the pros I follow, a lot of the coaches I follow, they're all out of Boulder. You're a runner. I'm a
Yeah,
runner, so consider me coming to Boulder in the next year or two to
yeah.
see you,
Let me
and
know. We got a
hopefully in
spare
the next
bedroom.
year. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We got a spare bedroom. Let me know.
maybe this summer would be a good time because I know the summers are beautiful in Colorado.
Yeah, let me know. You got a spot to stay.
Awesome, Mike. Well, hey, we got about a minute left before Instagram kicks us off. So I just wanted to give you the last minute or two. If there's any last tips you want to share on Wellness Wednesday about your morning routine or, inspirational thoughts or shout outs you want to do, now's your
Yeah.
time.
Um, yeah, I guess big shout outs to Coach Jeremy and Aaron for just like being so supportive in this journey for me. And yeah, without them, I probably wouldn't be on this call right now. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to give them some love. But yeah, like in terms of last bullet points, I don't think we touched on it when it comes to journaling. Like if you're blocked and you feel blocked and that thought's in your head, write down I am blocked, or because in some weird way you get through that resistance by writing it down, and then it has less energy or less of a hold on you. So like if you're blocked, if you don't know how to start, just like write down blue table, wooden floor, and just like things you're seeing, just write what, like any way to get the momentum going. Write down anything. Write down whatever's on your mind. Write down the blocks you're having. Write down what you're seeing, how you started your morning. Just write down anything to get the ball rolling, and that's when magic happens. It's just movement, and it's like the consistency of words and the flow. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I know you asked for some
It's a
tips
good
for
point.
people
How to get
who want to
started. And
start.
if you're
Yeah,
stuck, you just got to start writing about how you feel. Just get your feelings. Hey, I'm upset, this and that. The table is off balance. The house is dirty, like,
yeah,
well, yeah. So, awesome. And then also let's talk skincare real quick. Do you love our skincare? Do you love, how do you feel about the skincare?
yeah. So as a guy, I had my resistance to skincare. I was never much of one to use it before, but I am experimenting with it now, and I do enjoy it, and I love the concept of getting nutrients through the skin, and like we
Absorbing it in.
yeah, so that's been like a mind shift for me, and yeah, I love, like here in Colorado, there's 300 days of sun, so I'm excited to start using the daytime moisturizer, which has SPF in it, and I don't really wear sunscreen, but the
From zinc
idea,
oxide, we should say. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that
Yeah,
gets
there
me.
was a huge article I was showing my girlfriend last night that shows that octocrylene from traditional UV absorbers, from chemical UV absorbers like Copper Tone, Banana Boat, they listed 20 brands that have octocrylene. When it's stored for a year or more, the
Okay.
product turns into a cancerous chemical that literally the FDA is very concerned about. It just made big news circuit headlines yesterday. So you got to use zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, which are both
Yeah.
mineral barriers, mineral blocks. They sit on top of your skin and reflect the sun. They don't get absorbed into your skin like oxybenzone, octocrylate, octisalate, PABA, avobenzene. Those are all the chemical UV absorbers and people are even putting on retinol in the sun, which is crazy. Like there's retinol in some sunscreens, and retinol is like the worst thing to use during the day. And if you're ever going to use it, you have to be so careful. We use rosehip oil with retinoic acid, but my girlfriend and I had a big discussion last night about retinol.
Mm.
Actually, I think I had one with someone, a beauty expert we were talking about yesterday with. So like retinol, most of us don't need to use. It's in a lot of high performance anti-aging, wrinkle products and acne products. But when it comes to zinc oxide and the day cream, that's an exciting one to use, Mike. And then what do you think? Have you tried any of the other products yet, like our cleanser
Yeah.
or our eye cream?
So the
Um,
cleanser I keep in my shower, so that's what I clean my face off with while I'm in the shower. And then when I do try the products, I will put the serum on when I get out of the shower, and then the moisturizer. And I'm still, I think I have resistance to using the eye cream because like if I'm in the mindset of like if I'm using this, like it makes me like I think I feel old because I'm like preventing wrinkles. So
yeah.
I'm still experimenting with that. But even
I mean, I
I
use it every single day, but I can understand how you feel because I am 42 and I only started using the eye cream consistently the last 4 years of my life, probably when I started like late 30s, because I
yeah,
just wasn't in the habit. But then I feel like when I put it on, I feel really strong and I feel really hydrated. And when I don't have it on, my skin feels rough or my eye area doesn't feel as invigorated. So, but it's that practice that you feel like, oh my God, like I'm always adding this around my eye area. Am I like an old lady now or an old man?
Yeah,
Like,
but
but yeah, we have to
preventative,
break through
right?
that because you're feeding that area, which is really getting a lot of muscle action. That's one
Mhm.
thing I learned. We have a peptide in there that relaxes the muscles around the eyes.
Oh,
That's what the peptide, one of them does in there. It relaxes your facial expression muscles. So you're not, your muscles in your face can get like overused, like a runner in their legs, and they can get cramping even, and like um, spasms. And then even that's how wrinkle formation starts and stress in your skin is from overuse.
well, I love that you just shared that because that's like kind of helps me shift my story around that, and to support me in
Yeah,
using it.
it's gonna, especially with all the writing you're doing, and like you're probably looking at the paper and like you're squinting a little bit probably unless you're using glasses. And the eye cream really is loaded with powerful actives like resveratrol, which is nature's most
Mm,
powerful antioxidant from grape skin and wine. Resveratrol for anti-aging. It's got beta glucans for skin defense and wound healing.
yeah,
It's got licorice, which is a brightener. It's got Sinake peptide at 4% active, clinically proven level to help reverse and reduce. And basically, it helps to reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles by 48% after 28 days, according to lab results, lab studies. So we have that in our products, and it does. It's from nature. It's from snake venom originally, but they make it in the laboratory now, so it's vegan. It's EWG verified. And did you know anything about the EWG before you joined us, or is that a big eye opener for you about them and their story?
so so I did know about them, and like I knew that it was rare to see a product with EWG, and it 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 was reassuring to know that that stamp of approval was on our products when I joined the company, because I was aware of it. I wasn't aware of it to the degree that I am now in terms of like all the work and money they're investing in terms of protecting the environment and to raising the standards of our skincare industry, which is pretty shit right now. And it's cool to be part of this company and to provide and to open people's minds to new ways of protecting their skin in a more holistic manner. Um, so yeah, like I knew of the stamp, but like I said, I would only see it like I was very holistic in terms of what I would put on my skin, and was very aware of the way that the skin is an absorber and it's the biggest organ on our bodies. But yeah, like just I knew of it. Um, but yeah, yeah.
But as
So
our big partner now, you know even more. And
yeah,
we're on the leading edge. We're only 100 companies in the world, about 120 so far have aligned, but there's such a huge database, and more companies are aligning every day. But we were one of the first 100, and it's a big movement. It's not just Live Ultimate, but we're really proud. We're on the leading edge of a new frontier in skin safety, along with documentaries like Toxic Beauty that
yeah,
really show that the industry needs major regulation that the government is not providing. And the EWG is a nonprofit, nonpartisan consumer watchdog, the toxicity police. So we love them. And Mike, it was just incredible today talking to you. I think we should probably wrap it up because I think Instagram usually limits us to 60 minutes, but we're
yeah.
going on 70. But it was amazing having you today. I knew I was going to have a fun conversation about journaling for sure, travel. So those of you who missed any of it, you got to go back and catch some of Mike's travel adventures. Send him a message if you ever travel to Peru or Asia and you need some advice or meditating or journaling. Mike is, I consider him a journal expert and good friend of ours and ambassador here at Live Ultimate. So Mike, thank you so much. Anything you want to sign off with? I'll give you.
No, yeah, just always a pleasure to connect with you, and yeah, I love just kind of vibing out with you, and the relationship we're building just through these lives is cool, and just getting to know you more through these
Oh,
interviews.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, trust. I will come visit soon. We had two visitors yesterday, two of our ambassadors from San Diego, Kulani and Jim,
Oh
and they've
yeah.
been traveling the U.S. in their van Sage, and they came through my office yesterday. So I've
Awesome.
been friends with them through Live Ultimate for like 6 months to 9 months now,
Yeah.
and I've been following them on Instagram, really interacting with their life and seeing all their journeys. They just were doing Key West skydiving. They've been in like every part of the U.S. in their van, living an awesome life, music and herbs and photography and journaling and then they came through my office yesterday and we all did big hugs and then we hung out for like an hour and caught up and like we're going to hang out next week when they come back. So same thing with you. Like this is just the beginning of a fun fun friendship, and we'll have you back in a couple months again for another live when you're ready. Just let me know. I like
Yeah,
to do like every 3 or 4 months. Keep topics
yeah,
with my. So
yeah,
thank you again, Mike. And have a great day out in Colorado. And thanks everyone for joining us today.
yeah. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you.
Awesome, Mike. Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
See ya.